Thank you for joining us. I am Julie Reeder with Reeder Media, and we're meeting with Fred Nassiri. I think I'm saying that right. And he is an Iranian American. Is that how you would identify? And he is telling us his story in light of what is happening in the world right now. So thank you for joining with me.
Thank you for your time. Thank you for giving the opportunity to be a voice of the community for what is happening.
I'm interested first in how did you come to America?
I was born in Iran and at the age of 16, despite the fact that I had a very comfortable life in there. You know, I came from a father who was a doctor and had a nice practice. And it was well known, very well known. I actually was well off. And the mother that her side was all jewelers. Very comfortable life. At the age of 16, despite the fact that I could go to university there in old country, something hit me in the head. I think God put it in my heart, and I said I want to go to the United States. My parents were dead against it. Actually, my father was dead against it. But as a child, I was very, very stubborn. I wanted. And I came to the U.S. all by myself at the age of 16. I'd be able to speak much better English.
Wow.
I landed in Florida, in St. Petersburg, in Eckerd College. I was there for 4 months. And it was a journey by itself. I didn't like it because I realized I'm not achieving what I want to achieve. So I had a cousin who was going to school here in San Diego, in USIU, United States International University, right here in Colorado, which is now Allen University. Okay. And I called him and I said, hey, I want to come to there. And he said, you can come, but I want to tell you that your English is not really there yet. So against his advice and my counselor at the time, bought a one-way ticket, came to San Diego. Spent the next 3 months working and studying hard. I passed the exam. My life started and I stayed there for. Further fast forward, revolution happened, and we practically lost so much back home that we had. And my father was under house arrest to be basically executed. He was saved by one of his patients. That's a long story, but he also came to the United States. Took me, he escaped. He came to the United States basically with not much. Took me 2 years to get my mother out. Going revert back. My mother was here for my graduation from school the night that my father called to say that he's under house arrest.
Wow.
And that night, everybody was escaping from Iran. Everybody was escaping, and my mom went back.
Wow.
She went back because my mom and my dad were lovers, and my mom went back to be sure my dad gets out. She got stuck in the back there, and took me 2 years to get her out.
Wow.
Took me 2 years to get my sister out. She almost didn't make it. Then it took me 2 years to get her husband out. Along the way, a lot of cousins and uncles also came in, and I became the base, and they stayed with me, and now they all have their own lives. But you come to realize that life can change in a matter of seconds. Things that can happen way over there, 1,000 miles away, can affect you here. And I'm a firm believer, I'm very spiritual, that God had a reason for me to come to the United States. Because changes happen. Lives changed. And I think that was my mission, one of the missions in my life, to do it. But also made me to become grateful for this country.
Yes.
Because it gave me the sanctuary, gave my family the sanctuary. And you de facto become, I constantly call me Iranian American. I call myself an American with Iranian descent.
Okay.
That's what I'm called. Because I consider myself an American more than anything else now.
Yes.
This country has given me life, it's given me opportunity, it's given me my kitchen opportunity. And I am a very much, you want to call it right, you want to call it left, I'm very much a firm believer in the United States.
Okay.
So that's...
And when you got here, you went to school, and then how did you start this jewelry store?
I went to school, and then toward the end, there was no money coming. So because the revolution was in process, money was being frozen, And I started working in different places, and then I got it. There was I did know some, not much, about jewelry business from the grandfather's side, my mother's side.
Sure.
And my uncles and all were in jewelry business. So I knew some, but not enough. And I was only 21 years old at the time. So I practically, remember, when you are an immigrant, you don't have unlimited amount of, capital. With a very limited capital, truly limited capital, I opened up my store with 2 showcases, literally 2 showcases, and a small safe, my safe.
So maybe 10 feet of jewelry, or
yeah, that's it, 12 feet. That's it. If that. And my life started there, 1981, 21 years old. I practically didn't have any day off for probably 2-3 years.
Yeah.
You work hard.
Right.
Then you go on and you put one brick at a time, one step at a time. And then you appreciate what you have. Actually, today, 45 years later, same shop, same location, same family.
Unbelievable.
I'm here, I worked for a while with my mom and dad, they were taken here. My sister works with me here. So as a whole, as a family, you appreciate what you have. And to this day, I still have I have my first Christmas book. And every year that I want to look at my year end, I look at that book first.
Yeah.
Because it puts you back in place
Yeah.
to realize where you started.
Yeah.
And I think if you don't forget your roots,
Mm-hmm.
you're in a better place.
Yeah.
You're in a better place.
Well, it looks like you've been very successful. Your employees all seem very happy.
I'm a very lucky one. I think a team makes it.
Yeah.
I'm very lucky. I don't call them employees, I call them a team. They are here for 25, 35 years.
Yeah.
And it's a teamwork, but you have to create an environment. You have to make them feel that they are part of it. But with having a team that is also for 25, 35 years, it comes experience.
Sure.
It comes learning. It comes education. And plus it comes the fact clients like it because they see a stable face every time they walk through the door.
Yeah.
That makes a huge
Well,
difference.
especially if you're buying jewels, you want to buy them from somebody who's
Oh,
trustworthy.
100%. I'm very lucky because I think 70 to 80% of the business of transaction that takes place here, and I've got 6 jewelers, and you saw I've got a lot of the place. 80% of my business is word of mouth.
Yeah.
80%. As much as we do advertise, I have some walking, yes, but everybody that comes through the door, so and so said me. I got to know you to a third party, right?
Yeah.
Common friend.
Yeah.
So that I consider my ammo.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about what's going on in the world right now. What do you think about us going over to Iran and getting in contact with?
If I speak for majority of the Iranian people inside the country, they're happy. If this thing happened 40, 50 years ago, I can assure you that no foreign nation would be welcome in Iran, and every single person in that country would raise anything, even wood, to fight the foreign invaders. For a nation to be happy and cheers every time a bomb goes off on one of the buildings on IRGC or government officials, and for them to start dancing in the street when a leader of a country is dead, that should tell you a lot.
Yeah.
So, on the behalf of the Iranian country, I say thank you, America. But also I understand America is not doing it as a favor for Iran. I understand America is also doing it as creating a new hegemony in the Middle East. Our biggest adversary in there, as I said, is China. And at this moment, at this time and notion, I think, we have to understand the United States is fighting really 5, 6, 7 countries. It's not only Iran.
Sure.
We are fighting China. We are fighting Russia. We don't have the support of the United Kingdom because United Kingdom has lost the control of the Strait of Hormuz through Lloyd's of London, who insures that that waterways. That makes 2% of the GDP, and they lost that income.
That's a very complicated, and I think most people don't understand that.
Well, the Strait of Hormuz was free in the past, right? And cheap oil flew over there. And the United Kingdom was making tons of money from it.
Sure, and Lloyd's of
So
London.
that's said, and also don't forget, the Iranian oligarch and also Iranian government has a lot of money, billions, to tune of billions of dollars parked in England and the English bank. And the mullahs are very much in tune with British policy.
Yes.
And Brits like it. Then you go to France, and France has a lot of interest in Lebanon and basically they like to have the complete control of Lebanese gas and oil. And Hezbollah and them, the rumors that they are in bed together, and rumors in the Middle East most of the time is true.
Yeah.
So Macron, in so many ways, is basically, I think, evaluating this. Okay, the money I'm making from Bhutan versus NATO, I'll take that. Then you come to Spain. Spain has been giving a lot of explosive to the Iranian government, making a lot of money and doing a lot of banking for the Iranian. You come to North Korea. North Korea money comes from Iran for all the testing they do for their missiles. Then Russia and China speak themselves, right?
Right.
So I think what this administration, or I think in so many ways, anybody who's interested in the United States is what we're looking for, to weaken the Chinese economy through making the oil supply more expensive for the Chinese. The Chinese were taking Iranian money at practically 30 cents to the dollar, and most of the time they wouldn't pay them any money, they would give them items or commodities in exchange.
Mm-hmm.
So basically even further discount on the cost. So what is the main source or fuel for the economy to grow? Is a cheap supply, cheap production.
Right.
So with the cheap labor and cheap production, cheap oil, of course they're going to get out of that. So we see this and that. Now, if this new hegemony comes in, the United States wants to create a new ally in Iran with hopefully Reza Pahlavi or a friendly government in change, and Israel and Arab countries are coming together to make a sign with Israel, creating a peaceful environment. I think that's what the United States wants.
Right.
Is it going to happen?
Because that also helps us because of deals and technology and all that we want to trade with the Arab countries too.
When the war happens, I think the powers to be to look at a whole picture of it. Some people only look at the piece of the picture on a big picture. I think we have to look at the big picture altogether and look at it that way. He basically established the United States as a force in the Middle East. With China and Russia being in the background, the Arab countries they're no longer going to trust them because they didn't come to help Assad in Syria, you didn't come to help Iran, you didn't come to help the Libyans. So, but the United States came in.
Right.
So that's number one. No matter what comes out of this victory, this war is going to bring a lot of benefit to the United States, including money. And I hate to say that.
No, it's true.
Because all those buildings that have been damaged, those countries are going to be hiring their American contractor. And one thing came out of it. The American defense and mechanism and armament is far more superior to one of those Russian and Chinese. And the world is watching it. Right? So countries like the United States and Israel now are in top priority of setting a lot of billions, if not trillions of dollars worth of armament. That's number two.
Sure.
And number three, we just cut off one of the main supply routes for the Chinese.
Right.
So that is not going to be good for them. And number four, Europe is going to pay heavily now because it's going to cost them more to convert it. And I think I won't be surprised at one point they're going to come back to the United States and say, hey, we buy the oil from you. You're stable, we don't have to fight, we don't have to go to the war, we don't have to pay Lloyd's of London.
Yeah. Right.
So,
well, I think Trump is breaking all that right now so that the UK doesn't have that control and won't be making that money.
I think United Kingdom made a huge tactical mistake, in my humble opinion. I think France made a huge mistake in the tactical mistake, huge. I think Europe and NATO, the way we see it, it's going to be having a lot of issues after this, because when they needed us, we were there. When we needed them, they completely not only were not there, they created obstacles all along.
Right.
I mean, American
I
planes were not.
think we may pull out of NATO altogether. It'll be
I
interesting to see.
would not be surprised. And frankly, when you sit and look at the whole world the way it is, having a ground force to limited number is more more logical than having bases all over and spending all of those money.
Sure.
There's a day and an age that now you have a B-1 flying from Kansas City straight to Tehran, bomb, and come back, right? Yeah. So do we really need, without them knowing, without any country knowing, if we flew over 20, 30 countries and some of them were hostile, they didn't even know. So do we need spending trillions of dollars throughout the years to defend Europe when Europe cannot even care about who defends them? We've saved Europe twice. Yeah. Now, with the Ukrainian war, basically, if it was not for the United States, I wouldn't be surprised if Russia would further move deeper inside. So, NATO, in the way you see it, I think their importance is going to go away. I think Europe is going to find a way to come together and create their own defense or whatever it is. But Europe, they have so much of a different culture and different ways of life that I don't think, in the end of the day, it's going to last. I think NATO, the way we know it, is gone. Well,
Europe today is far different than Europe 30 years ago, too.
Well, Europe changed. I don't know if you've traveled to Europe in the last 5 years. Mm-hmm. And I'm not being, look, I'm an immigrant myself. But when you go to Europe, you feel the difference in the ways of life. Yeah. You see the difference in the way the communication is taking place, the culture, the behavior, the structure, the infrastructure, the cleanness, all different. Paris is not what it used to be. London, forget it. So Copenhagen, you go to Sweden, you go to countries like that, you see, whoa, what is happening here? So I think Europe, at first, they have to come to clean inside, but I don't know if they have the will to do it.
Right. What do you think about these new alliances with the Arab nations, the Board of Peace that Trump called together before we went into Iran?
Well, one of the reasons, a lot of people, the firm believer of the Middle East is one of the reasons, unfortunate event on October 7th occurred, was of the Abraham Accord. Right. Saudi Arabia, which is the main power in the Arab House, was getting ready to sign a peace treaty with Israel. If that would have happened, the next step would have been another probably common market, the coming together of the Arabs and Israelis together, and that would completely isolate Iran. That would completely put Iran on the side.
So you think that was the
that was one of the main, or few reasons.
Backing Hezbollah.
Yeah, few reasons. One of them was that. Another reason was when you give a terrorist country $1 billion, what the hell do you think going to happen? Or when you give a terrorist country $1.5 billion in cash, not even in wire money, and I'm not being left or right.
You're talking about the airplanes filled with cash.
When I'm looking at, I'm not being left or right. I'm just saying the facts of history, right? And coming from that part of the world, knowing that the culture, knowing the way of behaviors, what do you think we're going to do with the money? When a country which is basically supplying and subsidizing 5, 6 terrorist proxies, what do you think they're going to do with that money? So, I mean, when you have a country who built one of the most sophisticated missile cities in Iran, I don't know if you read about it or not, they have a huge missiles factory, city that was built on the Granite Mountains in Iran. For the last 20 years, we've been doing it. Billions and billions of dollars. So when you keep catching a country like that, what do you think is going to happen? You're either naive or you're just kicking the bucket down the road to appease them. And appeasing a terrorist is worse than hurting them. Because now they are even more bold.
Oh, now they have their proxies in all the countries around.
They have, look, Hezbollah.
Well, so much so that when they wanted to kill all the protesters, those were actually militants that they brought in from Iraq, right?
They brought from Iraq, and they brought them from the other side, a little bit of, some of the background from Hezbollah, and people in Iran, 40,000. Some estimate has it much higher. Got killed.
Yeah, I've heard estimates as high as 90,000.
I won't be surprised because you know what? This regime doesn't give a damn.
Right.
When you kill people, and you tell, there are piles of people in there that don't even know how many are there, and you have to put 2-3 bodies, 1 body back, and then you tell the mother, go and find your own child.
Right.
Think about it. And when they come to pick up the child, they say you have to pay $500 American, right? And if you don't have the body, come back in a few days and some of the parts of the body is gone. I think the Abraham Accord brought the Middle East in a different level. And I think by doing so, when you look at it, it changed Middle East forever. Changed it. Now, the event of Trump not getting elected again put it in the back burner because Biden and his administration were not in gear or in tune, and October 7 got them completely entangled. They didn't want to go further with it, making things more complicated, understandably. But with this guy coming in, this new president coming in, he's emboldened and goes in there and does the things. And I think you're going to see within the next year or so, you're still going to see this war come to an end one way or another. But you're going to see Saudis coming in peace with Israel. But that's going to create a completely different hegemony in the Middle East.
Absolutely.
Iran would have no choice either to stay as the antagonist country that creates headache, which will end up now at this point having the whole region go after them, or become part of it. Trump talks about the new regime in Iran, that he's talking to a new regime in Iran. There is no new regime either. These are the old guys. We have a saying in Persian, we say the donkey is the same, the saddle has changed. We're just hoping that it is not done that way. We hope the regime changes it for good. I mean, the whole isolation happened. I know that Trump does not want to be entangled in another Vietnam. Respect it.
Right.
But I think if keep pushing it and then having basically Iranian people come themselves in the streets and take it over and bring somebody like Reza Pahlavi in, you will see a big change in the Middle East. Middle East at the moment is at the crossroad. The world is at a crossroad.
Yeah,
If regime stays in, the world is not going to see peace. This regime, look at it. I mean, they have now gone all the way to Thailand, all the way to Australia, all the way. They have proxies everywhere. And when you have oil money and you shoot up millions of dollars every day, and then you don't care about the people being hungry, and you don't care about them dying, they're going to expand. They're just going to expand like a cancer everywhere. Everywhere.
What do you think would happen in Gaza if the Iran regime fell and there was new leadership?
Iran is a blood. And these guys are monsters. And Iran is the blood supply. You take the blood supply, these guys will die. If Iran goes away...
You mean Hezbollah?
Country of Iran goes, Hezbollah goes away, Hamas will go away, I promise you. These guys are there with the support of Iranian government, with the training of the Iranian government, with a commander of Iranian underground helping them to do it, right? They get the training in Iran. It now comes out that Hamas did the training for October 7 in Iran. All the gliders, everything they came down with, it was all done in the desert of Iran. So the practice is all in Iran. So when you have a country which is by nature, right, it becomes the mother of chaos. When you take the mother out, what happens? Everything dries up. imagine there are trees and then there's no water. They're going to dry and die. Eventually they're going to dry and they become obsolete. They're going to die. The ideology that they have created, unfortunately, is going to be with the Middle East for a while. The ideology of a fanaticism, hatred of the Jews and Christians, and fanaticism and jihadis, they've been enforced for a generation to a lot of kids.
Yeah.
So now that generation comes in, we may have to do what we did in Germany, what we did in Japan, to detox them. That's what I call it. Detox the brain. It's not going to be easy. It's not going to be so easy.
Now, from talking to you before, you told me that you didn't think this was going to be a long-term war, and you thought that it was because the young people are for regime change or for change.
They killed 40,000 people. You know, we're talking about a few nights ago, a bunch of us. I know I'm talking about people who just actually are very involved. They're waiting to see what happens next, right? Reza Pahlavi gave a call, and 40 millions of people came out.
And this is the Shah's
son. Yeah. He a few nights ago said, "Don't come out yet. I will call you when the time is right." We're all waiting for that to see what happens. Trump has called tomorrow night at 8 p.m. our time or 6 p.m. Eastern time. Deadline. They what we call it. Deadline, if you call it. This regime, only way that will go, it to be completely be eradicated from bottom. Look, for 4 weeks they've been bombed. They have a too strong military, and they're still standing. So the people are scared. They're saying, "Well, my God, you guys, they're not something easy." But I don't think the war is going to continue that much longer. Maybe a couple of more weeks, 2 more weeks. And I say that because there were surprises that I don't think Americans expected it, like the missile cities, right?
Right.
They have a bunch of them everywhere under the mountains,
Right.
deep inside the mountains. Some estimates say that they spend over $200 billion to build the cities. Imagine if that money goes to the country, what we would have done for the country.
Right.
How much of an advanced society it would be. First, I think with the next 3-4 weeks going to be over. I don't think American people like the long war, and midterms are coming, and I don't think Trump wants to be there. Number 2 is at one point you reach a point that, okay, what am I going to do now? I've destroyed everything possible. What else am I going to do?
But they don't want to destroy the infrastructure because they want Iran to be able to.
I challenge that. I think at this point they may have to do that. They may have to do that. Trump said, "I'm going to send them back to Stone Age." Okay, I heard I say that. Okay, in the Stone Age, people had fresh air. Stone Age people had money, food to eat, fresh water to drink. They had security. They had, when they went to the cave, they had peace, right? They fought, but they fought for survival and hunting, right?
Yeah.
Iranian people are already leaving the Stone Age.
Yeah.
They have no freedom. They have no water. They're shortage of water, shortage of electricity. There is no healthcare, really, to mention it. There is no security. There is no civil law that would protect them. So, what? Yes, it's going to be tough. It's going to be no electricity. It's going to be hell. But sometimes, in order to make an omelet, you break an egg. And I think a lot of Iranian, as much as I hate to say that, a lot of Iranian are looking at it and say, "Just do it and get us. Just get this regime out." They still continue. They're continuing to execute and hang people. Every day, they just hung another lady. Last week, 2 weeks ago, they hung those 4 young kids, right? So, where are we going to go?
Before, when I talked to you too, you said that you thought that women were very much at the forefront of this, and the death of that young woman
Mahsa Amini.
Yeah. Well, that just went underground and it's built. It definitely has not been forgotten.
Oh no. Mahsa Amini was, I think, the beginning of a revolution in Iran, which I call it a women revolution. I think this revolution, this whole thing still is a women revolution. I think women in Iran are brave. I think the women in Iran are admirable. I think the women in Iran are, for the longest time, the women in the United States were the beacon of the hope for so many people out there. But unfortunately, the last few years, I think some of the women in the United States have forgotten the role and the society in the world. And rather than becoming a beacon of the hope, they become not a good guidance for the women and not a good role model for freedom.
Yeah.
The Mahsa revolution, they killed 40,000 this time. We believe they killed another 20, 30,000 that time either. As you mentioned, it went under the rug. It was what we call it, fire on the ashes, just waiting for it again to be ignited. It got ignited. And I'm again going to say this, the only way that this regime would be toppled is for people to rise up. Because no foreign power.
But how can they do that with no weapons?
That's my thing, and
Because
I'm
they've
hoping
never been allowed to have weapons, right?
No.
Only the regimes.
No. Regime does not allow anybody to have a weapon.
Yeah.
Like any dictatorship, like any
Right.
socialist country, they will. The only way they can have it is somehow for them to get guns. But then the chance of civil war.
Yeah.
The civil war would be the next thing, and I said it's going to be bloody. Yeah. Don't forget, when you have a nation who is injured, tortured, killed, forced to do things they don't want to do, versus a regime that says, don't do anything I say, don't do anything what I say, just do whatever you want to do. This regime does so many things that all of them live in luxury, all of them live in helicopters, all of them live in beautiful cars. People are eating out of dumpsters. That during the 50 years ago, nobody even would have thought something like this. We had issues 50 years ago. Yes, during Pahlavi dynasty, that everything was being called hunky-dory. They had issues. But this...
Under the Shah.
Sure, listen. Do we have issues here? Of course.
Yeah.
Do we have issues in England? 100%. Show me one country that doesn't have issues. Yeah. But when you look at the bottom line and what is good for the country, Pahlavi did a lot of good for the countries. This regime took the country 100 years back.
Sure.
100 years back. When you get basically aroused by a woman's hair, you're sick.
Yeah.
You're sick.
Yeah.
And when you're aroused by the fact that a woman is walking, man, you need help.
And then blame it on her.
Oh yeah, one of the ancient thing in Iranians is, one of the Cyrus the Great said it's your eyes that should stay clean, not her. These guys are sick, absolutely sick.
Well, the Ayatollah that we took out first, I think he was the one that wrote the book and talked about how it was okay to marry 9-year-olds and all that.
You have a way of life that allows you to basically take over the position of a baby at 6 years old, and at 9 years old you can consummate that wedding, a marriage. They have interpreted, they've changed, they have made it a way of life. Some of the countries already live on that law. Yeah. Afghanistan is one of them. Afghanistan, the girls are bought and sold at a young age. Yeah. I mean, I'm talking about 4 or 5 years old. Wow. So, child marriage is a huge thing in some portion of the Middle East. And as much as a logical and healthy, normal person looks at it, just shake his head, it's their way of life. So the Iranian regime tries to force their way through a society and a young generation who's smart, who's sharp, who are resilient and very innovative and sourceful.
And on the internet.
And on internet. And this, by the way, for the last 40 days, the country has had no internet.
Yeah.
They've been cut off from the world.
Yeah.
Take your phone, and all of a sudden you don't have a phone.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden you cannot make a call, you cannot do
connection.
anything. For
Yeah.
40 days.
Yeah.
They talk about Stone Age. What is it?
Yeah. Right.
So, you know what? I think the people would rather have the freedom. Let's hope that, the United States has always been a beacon of hope. The United States has always been the guy that goes in and saves it. Let's have saved the world more than twice. I hope to God that this is a crossroads for the humanity and the United States, this country. And I'm not talking about Trump. I'm not talking about Biden. I'm not talking about anyone. I'm talking about America. Will be there again to change and make the history for a better human being. Let's hope so.